The slide that we'll see hopefully in a second has been prepared by Jess Jacopato, who works in our team. The eFlows program, as you've heard from Steve Gaddy, has been worked over a number of years, and I'm coming in on the end of the program, whereas Steve's been in it for the long haul, but my predecessors like Glenn Ashman and Jacqueline Fritzenschaff have had a long-standing input in this program, and of course Jackie Griggs there in the audience as well has been instrumental in a lot of the early conclusions. I guess one of the motivations for doing this talk today was, well, I'm not going to be talking about pure science here, but I guess talking about some of the things that SA Water do to enable the science to occur. And a lot of this work enables from the fact that we are a licensee under the Mount Lofty Ranges Water Allocation Plan, of which we pay the NRM board $1.2 million for the pleasure. So we also want to make sure that any drop of water that we're giving away for the environmental flows and utilising that for the benefit of the environment, that it's being used in the best possible way. There's also the issue that in supplying the water, we don't actually get enough water from the Mount Lofty Ranges by itself, so it's all of our systems working together to supply Adelaide. So we also, whatever volume of water we take from the Mount Lofty Ranges and release for the environment, we're essentially pumping that water from the River Murray. And then we've also got the Adelaide Desal plant as part of our system. SA Water's values that guides our strategic thinking is presented here. A lot of the primary factor that we're taking into account here where eFlow fits is about the healthy environment. We want to show that we're a good steward to the environment, but we also need to make sure that all of our values are being taken into account. So that's where the value for money, making sure that we've got a smart investment while maintaining an affordable water supply system for South Australia. I think the other question that comes up regularly is, are we a government organisation or are we a private company? And the answer is we are very much a government organisation. We have multi-tiers of regulators that we report through, but we also ultimately report to our minister and the general public there. So Steve's presented the lineup of our major reaches in there, so I'll use this opportunity to skip over that part there. So our licence in the Mount Lofty Ranges is to extract up to 143 gigalitres per annum. Part of that licence currently is around making sure that we supply at least 16.5 gigalitres, sorry, that's gigalitres instead of megalitres, it's not megalitres. 6.5 gigs per annum there, of which we capture some flowing down from Gumeracha Weir to Kangaroo Creek. This year's been exceptionally dry, and we've actually only had about 33 gigs of water come into the Mount Lofty Ranges reservoirs there at the moment. And if we're looking at just the reaches that are relevant to the eFlow trial, that's about 27 gigs flowing in through those reach catchments. So we're very, very focused on how we adapt to that, but I'll talk about how we go through amending some of the flows with the NRM board in a second. One of the challenges that my predecessors had to deal with was the fact that a lot of our infrastructure has been built as early as 1860 and as late as somewhere in the 1920s there. This is the Barossa Weir that diverts from South Para Reservoir through to the Barossa Reservoir there. And I'll show you another slide in a minute, but a lot of this infrastructure are purely designed for shifting huge amounts of water around the place, and I'm pretty sure that eFlows probably weren't a consideration when these were installed. That's necessitated significant modifications that take into account the heritage values in there. Just another view of the Barossa diversion weir that you just saw there. I guess I get excited by these because there's lots of craftsmanship into the building of these reservoirs. And they're usually, well, they're just about all located in absolutely stunning locations of our catchments, even though they probably are still slightly modified, heavily modified. So you can see partly down there, we've had to put the pipe there to manage the low flow bypass there. So I just forget the volume. Yeah, it's 7.3 megalitres a day. We can do that, but it gives us some control. One of the tricky parts of the South Paris system is that we've got a giant tower that sits in the reservoir that controls the levels that we can release from. That had to have a lot of modification to it to avoid water hammer happening in there. But to enable the big flushing events to occur in the South Para, we have to actually make sure that there's sufficient water in the Barossa reservoir so that customers don't have their water supplies cut out while we're doing the flush, because we don't have the capacity to do both, supply the flushing events and keep the water supply up to the Barossa reservoir and the treatment plants. A lot of the water treatment plants rely on a certain narrow range of head difference in the reservoir. I think the other thing I forgot to mention earlier is quite often we'll see with the climate patterns there that we're really dry up in the northern ends of our systems, and as you get further down you're getting a little bit better. So South Para's it's almost a basket case, to be honest, with some of the flows we're getting at the moment, but Torrens River's slightly better, and then Onkaparinga is much better again. So Steve stole my thunder there with these pictures of Gumeracha Weir, and his might almost be better. I guess this weir, one of the challenges there is the occupational health and safety requirements there. So on the right-hand side, you've got the road going past, so we've got good all-weather access there, but on the other side, we have to go down that steep terrain with a really narrow roadway, which is not ideal in wet weather conditions. So it actually took a lot of time and effort to get it set up. So this site was also impacted by the Samson bushfires as well. So we've missed out on a period of data releasing through here. But most of the time, the water going through the low flow bypass, which is that pipe you see coming down, is left on all the time, and I think we're at a reduced rate at the moment, looking at around 1 meg a day there. And when the big concrete structure with the fence around it, that's essentially the diversion structure through to Millbrook Reservoir there. And I guess when at some parts of the season we have to close that off to allow the big flushing events to go through over the top of Gumeracha Weir, which flows into Kangaroo Creek Reservoir. Gorge Weir, I'm pretty sure that was one of our oldest ones there. I think that's an 1860 type weir structure there. So the green shed off to the right there, that's the diversion weir that goes off to Hope Valley Reservoir. And off of the pipe that comes into Hope Valley Reservoir is this other low flow bypass there that's just at a constant flow rate there. So we're actually doing some work on Kangaroo Creek Reservoir upstream, and so we're not actually diverting water through to Hope Valley at the moment, which is impacting, will impact temporarily the ability to do some of those low flows. Yeah. So saying there's really broad range, really wide weirs, so any change in water level has a significant change in the flow rates that we're delivering there, and I think that's an important consideration when you're trying to do finely tuned, precise e-flow programs. You can see just a centimetre change can mean a difference of up to 20 megalitres there. Clarendon Weir, you've seen the pictures of there. On the right, there's the low flow valve that we've had to install. Absolutely stunning site there. The Weir's all marble clad and completely amazing craftsmanship there. One of the things that we're working through as part of the licence discussions is around the climate variability issues and how we adapt to when there are dry issues there. We try to leave the flows going as long as possible there, but we're also trying to work on tools that can enable us to preempt some of these flows and make sure there's a transparent decision-making framework that we can work with the NRM board on there. Skipping through a few of these because Kuma's giving me the hurry up there. Part of Jess's role was to develop up some of these tracking tools that we use to help provide that evidence, and that's been quite useful in guiding some of our discussions there. You can see that in Gumeracha's probably all right. You can see, I don't know, I don't have a mouse, I don't think. You can see some of the cumulative inflows there that this year is sitting on about the 90th percentile. Incidentally, this line here is what we tell a SCOSA that we expect, and that's one of our key building blocks to building up the price. So that represents the 10-year average inflows there. And you've got tracking the soil dryness index and things like that. One of the biggest challenges we've had in delivering these e-flows is about making sure that our natural environment is being listened to, and I think the opening ceremony reminded us that that's an important consideration that we need to be making sure we're keeping in mind there. A lot of the occasions, some of our flushing events were scheduled to occur when there's been absolutely no rainfall. So what's the point of triggering that? So luckily the NRM board's been very pragmatic with us on working through a lot of these issues there. It's also enabled us to, one of the years Mount Bold was spilling, and we enabled us to take into account that event as one of the flushing flows. Yeah. I think we've learnt a lot throughout this environmental flow trial, and there's obviously still a lot of work to go. I think there's plenty of questions still to answer, and I guess we've seen some from Ashley and Doug, some really exciting work that's happening that may help guide some more clever ways of delivering what precious water we do have. Thank you.
Thanks. Any questions for Steve regarding environmental flows? Let's thank Steve. And our next presenter is Daniel Penny, hydrologist from the department. Dan is going to talk about